Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us for this Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. Well, the summer solstice occurred today at 8:39 a.m., which signifies the longest day of the year. So those locations above the Arctic Circle had 24 hours where the sun was above the horizon, like Barrow, Fort Yukon, Kotzebue. And south of the Arctic Circle, a little shorter, Fairbanks just under 22 hours where the sun is above the horizon. And then as you go south, that increases a little bit. Get down toward Ketchikan and you're at about 17 and a half hours of daylight. And then for the fire danger map today, still quite an extensive area of extreme fire danger over the central interior down into the mid and lower Yukon and Kuskokwim River Valley areas there, with high fire danger all the way out to the southwest coast. Still high fire danger to very high fire danger through the Kenai Peninsula up into the Madanuska, the Sitna Valleys, and some extreme fire danger here over the Copper River Basin, as well as the Seward Peninsula and the Kobuk Valley areas here to the west, with high fire danger out into the Noatak Valley, and also some high fire danger now up over the northern southeast coast areas, up around from Haines on up towards Skagway and those areas. On the satellite today, again starting out pretty clear, some cloudiness and scattered showers here over the east central interior, and then thunderstorms developed again over the Talkeetna Mountains and through the central interior from about Kaltag all the way over to the upper Yukon Valley there. And then in the late afternoon hours had some development here up over the eastern Brooks Range, western Alaska Range, and along the Kuskokwim here down to the Kilbrook Mountain areas. Kind of a partly to mostly sunny day, depending on where you were here over the southeast coast. A lot of clear skies again here over the northern Bering Sea, all the way up across the North Slope and the Arctic coast there, where temperatures reached the lower 80s along the eastern Arctic coast at Nuiqsut and Deadhorse this afternoon. Otherwise, sunshine here in the western interior with those thunderstorms developing this morning. A little bit of a weak disturbance here, kicked off some isolated thunderstorms along the east side of Kodiak Island during the morning hours, and just some scattered showers remaining. That's going to shift in and bring a chance of thunderstorms to Bristol Bay this evening. And otherwise, we had this front out here over the eastern Aleutians, brought about 1/4 inch of rain in the last 24 hours to Unalaska, with some east-southeast winds gusting up to 35 miles an hour at Dutch Harbor, and cold basing gusts to 30 miles an hour, but really not much of a rain producer other than that 1/4 inch at Unalaska, just 2/100 of an inch falling at King Cove and False Pass. Fog and low clouds a little bit farther over the eastern Bering Sea this morning here, with Nunivak Island back out to the Pribilofs, but still a lot of clear skies up to the north and across the Seward Peninsula. A lot of low clouds here along the North Gulf Coast, Gulf of Alaska, again into Kodiak Island, all the way up into south central Alaska. And again, those thunderstorms developing quite extensive here during the afternoon hours, back, as I mentioned, all the way back into the Kilbrook Mountains, as well as the eastern Brooks Range area. For tonight, again, chance of showers and thunderstorms here over Bristol Bay as that disturbance tracks westward across the Aleutian Range and in toward the eastern portions of Bristol Bay. Still a risk of a shower over Kodiak Island, mainly the western and southwest portions. Otherwise, showers and scattered thunderstorms over the eastern interior from about, well, eastern Norton Sound all the way over to the 40-mile country and upper Tanana Valley locations, as well as the western Alaska range over the Talkeetnas and maybe possibly even over the Wrangell Mountains as well. Chance of some showers, just a risk of showers over the northern southeast coast. Otherwise, no changes for the Panhandle, staying clear and dry up along the Arctic coast. And then tomorrow there's a risk with this trough right through here, bringing a few scattered showers in to the eastern Brooks Range, North Slope areas. They're down into the northern Koyukuk Valley, Anatuvik, possibly as far south as Bettles. Otherwise, another pretty sunny day again. Temperatures back into the 70s and 80s here through the interior. Risk of a little more low clouds or patchy areas of fog along the Arctic coast tomorrow, especially back here to the west, but generally nothing too terribly extensive. But the low clouds and fog out here with high pressure over the Bering Sea is going to advance northward, possibly to St. Lawrence Island, with fog up along the southwest coast again tonight, and then those showers and thunderstorms there over western Bristol Bay now. That'll actually track westward and pass over the Pribilof Islands, this area of showers, tomorrow night, and then be west of the area on Tuesday. Right through here, some of that will spill down into the west central Aleutians as some form of some scattered showers, but areas of low clouds and fog here. Nunivak Island up across St. Lawrence Island, and then again on Tuesday, Bristol Bay looking pretty good here, and as well as the Kuskokwim Delta, in across Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula. Partly cloudy skies with some sunshine, but chance of some afternoon showers over the Chugach Mountains with the scattered thunderstorms here. Right through the south central eastern interior areas of Kilbrook, or not the Kilbrook Mountains, but the Wrangell Mountains up to the eastern Alaska Range, back across the White Mountains there, and down in toward Denali, chance of some afternoon thunderstorm activity, but the southeast coast high pressure kind of shifting into the area there. So again, just partly to mostly sunny, depending on where you are there, with some variable low clouds here along the coast and up along the North Gulf Coast. Light variable winds there. No gradient at all here for the Prince William Sound area or the Gulf of Alaska under high pressure. So variable clouds, patchy areas of fog again, Prince William Sound and the North Gulf Coast, but mostly sunny up over the northern interior. Those winds start to pick up in response to this frontal system approaching the northwest coast. 30-knot winds in the forecast for the western Arctic coast for Tuesday, and also southwest winds here through the Bering Strait, but not quite as strong. Those small craft advisories along the western Arctic coast, and then looks like this front will drop in to the northwest interior Tuesday night and then continue southeastward on Wednesday. For temperatures this afternoon, mostly in the well, upper 50s to high 60s, 69 at Klawock this afternoon, while 68 occurred at the state capitol and also over at Ketchikan. 58 degrees in Yakutat, same thing over at Cordova. Palmer up to 60, 55 in Kenai, 58 at Homer, as well as at Seward, 57 in Valdez, 75 at Gulkana. Kind of variation in temperatures here across the Tanana Valley, 73 at Northway, but just 63 at Bettle, 74 at Fairbanks, 69 over at Tanana, and then into the 80s, there's an 80 at McGrath, and also 81 at Galena, up there with 82 at Indian Mountain, 80 degrees today in Bethel. Up along the North Slope, there was 80 degrees at Nuiqsut and 77 over at Dead Horse. They did push up to 81 degrees here at 5 o'clock, and then 46 up at Barrow and 67 at Atusuk. Cape Lisburne up to 73 degrees this afternoon with southwest breezes there. Then 73 at Buckland, 68 over at Kotzebue, not a bad temperature for Sunday afternoon. It's 57 at Homer with a 72 degree reading at Amonic, 80 degrees in Bethel, and lower 50s out here over the Pribilof Islands, and 40s to lower 50s across the Aleutians, and upper 40s to lower 60s here for the Alaska Peninsula. Just 60 degrees this afternoon at King Salmon, 54 at Kodiak. And looking at the lows tonight, in the lower to mid 50s here through the, well, from southwest to northeast here through the interior, with upper 30s along the western Arctic coast, and then 40s to lower 50s here over south central Alaska, upper 40s to lower 50s for the southeast coast. High temperatures tomorrow back into the 70s and 80s here from the southwest coast right up into the central interior, all the way over into the upper Tanana Valley and the upper Yukon areas here. Lower 80s tomorrow, mid 80s at 87 there is forecast for Tanana. And for flying weather, some thunderstorms here along the western Alaska Range, maybe the Kuskokwim back down to the Kilbrook Mountains tomorrow, as well as over the eastern interior areas. Marginal VFR forecast along the coastal areas here, covering much of the Gulf of Alaska, with the IFR remaining off the coast. This for tomorrow afternoon. Marginal VFR down across Kodiak Island into southern Cook Inlet, and then southward along the Alaska Peninsula. And then a big area IFR out here over the Bering Sea, again a little farther to the east and farther to the north than it has been for the last several days. IFR possible, at least in the forecast there, for the western Arctic coast. Marginal VFR on the east side due to some, I guess, an increase in the low clouds and fog forecast for that area. And looking at the passes, Anatuvik VFR on either approach, Adigan VFR conditions as well. Lake Clark and Merrill VFR, still a risk of a thunderstorm for Rainy as well. Windy VFR, isolated thunderstorms possible for Windy, Isabel, and Mentasta. And for Tanita, VFR flying tomorrow. Portage starting out marginal VFR, especially on the eastern entrance, becoming VFR in the afternoon. Chilkoot and White VFR. Looking at the freezing levels, about 8,000 feet here over Bristol Bay and Kodiak Island, otherwise 10,000 feet over just about all of the remainder of Alaska, except out here over the Aleutians, where it's back down to 8,000 feet. And really not much in the way of significant icing expected tomorrow. Maybe some areas of rime or mixed icing here from the Kilbrook Mountains into the western Bristol Bay area, and then some hit and miss icing possibilities here due to the afternoon convection through the interior. Upper level wind flow chart showing upper high pressure still holding over the area here, so temperatures back into the 70s and 80s, that keeping the northern branch of the jet to the north at least for another day or two, and then something back through here, as I mentioned earlier, is going to drop into the northwest on Tuesday night and into Wednesday, dig a little farther southeastward. Otherwise, the southern jet remaining well to the south. And for 9,000 foot winds, a little brisk there on the central and eastern Arctic coast, 30 to 35 knots. Light variable winds here over the southwest interior, but northeasterlies coming around that high up to 20 knots there across Togiak Bay. Light variable winds, Kodiak Island, southern Alaska. Light winds over the Panhandle. Easterlies up to 25 knots for the Fox Islands. 3,000 feet, about the same pattern. Westerly winds here through the interior, strongest up along the Arctic coast on the east side, and then easterlies 5 to 25 knots here over the eastern Aleutians. And for turbulence, again, with the gusty winds there on the eastern Arctic coast, areas of light to isolated moderate turbulence there, probably below about 4,000 feet. And then here for the eastern Aleutians, below about 6,000 feet, isolated moderate chop possible, but really nothing too significant anywhere in the state. And after the marine forecast, or after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
The third priority is shelter. Your life raft protects you from the elements and provides you insulation. Keep it tidy. Use the baler to keep it dry.
Water was getting inside in the life raft. And that's one thing that was in the survival kit was a baler. We had to bail.
If you have 2 sponges, use one to mop up the salt water on the floor and the second sponge to recover some of the condensation which in cold climates will collect inside the canopy for drinking. Keep this second sponge only for fresh water. In poor weather, close all the openings to keep as warm and as dry as possible. Make sure the sea anchor, or drogue, has automatically deployed. The drogue is needed for stability and to keep you as close as possible to your last reported position. Adjust the length of line so that when you are on top of the wave, the drogue digs into the trough. There is a spare drogue in Solus A and B packs. If seas permit and you wish to travel further in the direction of wind and current, remove the drogue from the water. If you want to decrease your progress, redeploy it. The pump is used to keep the life raft fully inflated. The pump and valves in your raft may look and operate differently from those seen here. Inflatable floors do not inflate automatically. Find where to inflate the floor and inflate it. Even in tropical waters, you will want the floor inflated for insulation. Some floors do not inflate. They have built-in insulation.
Oh, I got one. What do you think this is for?
Well, let me see. I don't know. It's got threads on it.
Well, let me see here. Well, we know that this raft has pressure relief valves on the outside there, so I'm going to bet you it's a plug.
Rough seas may pound your life raft and cause air to be released through pressure relief valves outside the raft. Find the valve plugs in your pack and insert them if needed. Life raft repair packs vary from brand to brand. The metal clamps found in some brands work very well even in wet conditions. If your tear is small, you may need to cut it larger for the smallest clamp to work. Newly approved peel and stick patches are available for some types of raft material. Due to the water ballast pockets under the raft, you will find the paddles difficult for locomotion, but they can be used for navigating short distances.
Caleb, you're not looking too good there. Let me see if I can find something here to help you out in case you get sick. Here you go. Why don't you keep this nearby you?
All right.
Keep your shelter clean by using seasickness bags. Solus A and B packs have at least 2 thermal protective aids, or TPAs. In case additional thermal protection is needed, additional TPAs can be added during annual repacking. Your fourth priority is signals. On the radio, send a mayday. Take the EPIRB from your vessel, turn it on, tie it off, and leave it in the water. Even if you haven't turned it on, it will automatically activate and begin transmitting. EPIRBs are not a standard part of a Solus kit. Be sure to take it with you. Other signaling devices should be readily accessible to your lookout so they can be deployed quickly, as aircraft may be within sight for just a few seconds.
I saw the C-130, and I figured we better try at least get a parachute flare off because he knew where we were. So I waited for him to take a bank towards us where his line of visibility would be down towards us at least give us the best chance of survival. And so I shot it.
Practice aiming your mirror by lining up your target in the notch between 2 fingers and shining the light in the notch. Mirrors will work even on cloudy days. Solus A and B packs contain smoke, handheld, and parachute flares. Ask your life raft repacker to explain how the flares in your raft operate. They may operate differently than the ones on your vessel. Different brands operate differently. Read the instructions on the flares before you need to operate them at night or in rough seas.
Hey, you guys, I got a parachute flare here. I'm going to shoot it just in case somebody's out there. I don't see anybody, but just in case.
In general, fire 1 parachute flare right away to alert rescuers who might be just over the horizon. Hold the rest until you can see vessels or planes. With the flare in your hand as shown, aim the flare at a 65 to 80 degree angle above the horizon. Turn your face away and fire. Do not fire at rescuers. Parachute flares shoot a projectile 1,000 feet. Be prepared for a kick like a firearm when firing. Handheld flares drip slag. Solus grade flares drip less slag than non-Solus flares. This is why only Solus flares are packed in life rafts. They should still be held well away from the raft, horizontal and downwind to avoid damaging the raft. Different handheld flares also have different firing mechanisms. Smoke is especially useful on calm days. Helicopter rescue pilots also find smoke useful to judge wind direction. The cans of smoke float, and due to the heat they produce, they should be tossed into the water well away from the raft. A copy of life-saving signals is included in Solus A and B packs. The whistle is 3 to 5 times louder than the human voice. The flashlight has an extra bulb and batteries. The life raft also has an external-internal dome light. It can be disconnected when not needed during the day. The canopy also has light-reflecting tape. Other items may be used as signaling devices. Use your imagination. The fifth priority, water, is only found in Solus A packs. 1.5 liters for each person the life raft is designed to carry. Water is essential for all body functions, including thinking and fine motor skills. You will probably already be dehydrated when you enter the life raft.
It wasn't long, about an hour into the raft, that we actually got thirsty, or some of us got thirsty, which was surprising, that quick. I said, geez, it'd be nice to have some water, and then it took me a second to recollect that there actually was water in the raft.
Despite information to the contrary, do not ration water for the first 24 hours. Drink as needed.
Hey, we better drink some of this water. You hold on to 2. Those are yours.
You need water to function efficiently before and during the rescue. Most rescues occur within 72 hours. Determine a way to distribute water fairly and equally. Use the graduated drinking vessel found in the Solus A pack. Use this or other containers to gather and store rainwater through the rainwater collection hose. Don't forget to collect your condensation from the inside of the roof, especially in cold climates. Water is usually packed in foil pouches, but Solus A packs are still required to have 3 tin can openers.
3 can openers. What could we use this for?
Oh, you guys know I grabbed a can off the galley table on the way off the boat.
Can of food?
Quail eggs in brine.
Wow, those are mine. Right on, Caleb. Hey, let's open those up.
That's great. Let's eat on these.
That's
Good
awesome.
move.
Well, have either of you ever eaten quail eggs?
Not in a can.
Welcome back. Well, with southwest winds expected to increase tomorrow and especially on Tuesday, the ice edge here should shift up to the northeast about 15 to 30 more nautical miles by Wednesday. And looking at the coastal forecast here for the Panhandle, westerlies at about 15 knots on the north coast, west-northwesterlies at 20 down along the south coast, and southerlies up to 20 knots here, increasing to 25 knots for northern Lynn Canal tomorrow afternoon, northwesterlies at 15 knots for Clarence Strait. And then for Tuesday, south 25 knots for northern Lynn Canal, but only southerlies at 10 knots for Stevens Passage. Light southeast winds for the southern inner channels, and south to southeast 10 to 15 knots here along the outer coastline. And for Prince William Sound, southerlies at about 10 knots tomorrow, seas just 2 feet. Southwest 15 knots with 4-foot seas for northern Cook Inlet, southerlies at about 15 for the southern inlet. Light variable winds here for the Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay, and Shelikof Strait. Southeast winds 15 knots there for the east side of Kodiak Island. And then for Tuesday, east winds up to 20 knots here for Kodiak Island with 7-foot seas. Northeasterlies at 20 knots for Shelikof Strait. Light variable wind conditions under high pressure here for the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound with seas 2 to 4 feet. And no change for northern Cook Inlet, still looking at a southwest breeze at 15 knots with 4-foot seas. Easterlies at 15 here for the Barren Islands. And for Bristol Bay for tomorrow, south winds at about 10 knots, but easterlies at 10 knots here for the Alaska Peninsula. On the Pacific side, though, easterly winds up to 20 knots from Sitkinak all the way out to Cape Sarachev. And then for Tuesday, northeast winds here on the Pacific side of the peninsula, 25 knots, seas 8 to 9 feet, much lighter and more northerly winds on the Bering Sea side, Bristol Bay north at 10. and north 15 for the Alaska Peninsula. For the eastern Aleutians, east-northeast winds 15 to 20 knots with 4 to 7 foot seas for the Fox Islands. Northeast 15 knots here for the central Aleutians, and light northerly winds 10 to 15 for the areas to the west. And then on Tuesday, still looking northeast at about 15 there for the eastern Aleutian areas. Northerly winds on the light side, just 10 or 5 to 15 knots here for the central. And then the western zone here, light variable winds with seas only at about 3 feet and the winds at 10 knots or less. And then for the southwest coast, looks like kind of a variable wind condition here, starting out northwest at 15, becoming southeast at 15 in the afternoon there for the areas southeast of Nunivak Island. North, though, looking at north winds up to 20 knots. Light variable winds here through the Bering Sea for tomorrow. And then for Tuesday, westerlies at about 20 knots for St. Lawrence Island, north to northwest at 15 for the southwest coast, northeast for the Pribilofs. And up along the Arctic coast, westerly winds at 20 to 25 knots here with the brisk wind advisories along the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. Central coast, westerlies at 20 knots. And then Wales up to Point Hope southwest at about 20 knots. And then those winds increase tomorrow night and on Tuesday. Southwest 30 knots for the western coast, and then Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, southerlies at about 30 knots there. More of a southerly direction at 20 knots for the central coast, and lighter east-southeast winds on the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. For the weather tonight, should stay pretty fair. Sunshine across the North Slope Brooks Range. Much of the Arctic coast may see some patchy low clouds or fog show up on the western Arctic coast. Otherwise, scattered showers, thunderstorms here from eastern Norton Sound through the central interior to the upper Tanana Valley areas. Also scattered thunderstorms along the Alaska Range, Talkeetna Mountains, all the way back into Bristol Bay. Chance of thunderstorms this evening for Bristol Bay that'll gradually be working its way westward. Tomorrow should be over western Bristol Bay with a thunderstorm threat there and the scattered showers. Again, afternoon thunderstorms developing here through the Alaska Range, possibly the Talkeetna Mountains again, western Alaska Range, upper Tanana Valley areas, some scattered showers with this trough up over the northeast interior. Otherwise, high pressure and light winds for the Gulf of Alaska, partly to mostly sunny skies.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.